So, early last December, Yuchul Kim of Woods Creek Machine Shop put up a for sale ad on Instagram. It was a Lucas Model 31 horizontal boring mill for $800. And I immediately fell in love with the machine, price, where it came from. The only issue is I am in the southeastern part of the state, down in Washington's desert in the Columbia Basin. Yuchul Kim is all the way up in the northwestern part, north of Seattle. It's about 4 or 5 hours away. Now, I have a group of friends, and we all help each other. We each have skills and trades that complement each other. We've got me, the machinist. We have a buddy of mine who is incredibly knowledgeable with vehicles, anything with an engine. He knows about it. He's very, very good at what he does. Another friend of mine drives truck, and I swear he is an encyclopedia for the DOT regulations and anything you want to know regarding a truck, regarding their history, regarding how to shift any transmission you can think of. Another friend of mine builds houses, very, very good with carpentry work. We complement each other extremely well. Another friend of mine, farmers, and just every trade is represented within our friend group. And we help each other all the time with moving heavy things, with fixing stuff. They know that they have free reign of my machine shop anytime that they need it. And I can count on them to help me whenever I'm needing it. So we all hopped in my friend's Kenworth W900 with a step deck trailer. And we drove up to Monroe. We ended up spending about little over 12 hours on the road to get this boring mill. And it was a very fun drive, going up and down the Cascades, through Snoqualmie Pass. Weather was good, very rainy. We got back, and we are also part of the American Trucking Historical Society, the ATHS, our local chapter here in the Columbia Basin. Attend the meetings, go to the truck shows, help out whenever we can. And one of the members helped us to move the boring mill from the step deck trailer over onto my Astro. He has a crane truck with think either a 5 or a 10-ton crane on it. I believe it's a 5-ton crane. And he brought along a 5,000 kilogram scale to see how heavy that boring mill was. And 5,000 kilograms is somewhere in the neighborhood of 12,500 pounds. And we ended up maxing out that scale, which was a little concerning, but cranes have a safety factor built in, so it's okay. Hello everyone, we are on the back of the 8V71 powered cab over Astro with the new to me Lucas Model 31 horizontal boring mill. Let me try to get you guys a bit of a wide shot since we're up here on the deck. For those of you that don't know what this machine is, well, they're called horizontal boring mills. What they do is they bore out, they were built to bore out large cylinders. So if you had an engine, a big steam engine or other large cylinder pressure vessels, you could bore those out. You could machine large work pieces, because as you can see, this table here is quite large. It's just simply made to work on larger jobs. You could put an excavator dipper arm on here and bore it out. You could face it. You can machine long keyways and large shafts. You can do all kinds of things on this machine. It's got two ways of driving a tool, or I guess attaching a tool here. There is this plate, which I need to take this off and investigate further. This plate does, whenever the machine is happy with me, it will rotate. There we go. This whole thing rotates. They had a chuck on here. They had this very nice chuck. We'll get back to that. But you have this plate here, and you have the Morse Taper 5 spindle. This plate here does not move in and out. However, the spindle on the inside, that there will move. The tool that is in it now is a solid stainless steel boring bar with square holes in it. I believe those are 1/2 inch. Some of them more square than others. This was given to me by my old boss. He used it in his horizontal boring mill. I was going to scrap it many times, but I decided against it, and I'm glad I did, because now I have a proper horizontal boring mill, and it fits very nicely. The tailstock over there that you might notice, that is to support the other end of my bar. If I were to run this out, also, that little bit of movement there is very suspect. I need to figure that out if I'm ever going to use that for a tool. If you bring this bar out, and if I were to bring that tailstock in, you can make a bushing and put it in there, and that'll support the end of your bar. That way you can put something here in the middle and bore it. Whereas if I were to try to bore something with either this hole or even this hole, or really even that one, with this bar sticking out as far as it is, it wouldn't work out very well, because the bar would be flopping around, even if I had a very large boring bar. And it's very nice because that moves with this head. Now, I believe every time you move that, you do have to kind of adjust it a little bit, sort of a fine adjust, which isn't really an issue for me. Just indicate your bar end, basically. And you can also put other tools in here. You can see normally your tailstock would have a single slot in a lathe, but this, even though it's Morse Taper 5, it has 2 slots. This one here is to get the tool out. This one here, you put in an expansion key, or in some cases an actual drift that holds the tool in, keeps it from walking out. You can use this for milling and face milling, fly cutting, etc. Even boring. Some boring operations will, you want to lock your tool in. You want to lock in your taper. Now sadly, this of course has a couple of issues. It feels fairly solid. I'll have to get a indicator on it and really see how much slop this has. Of course, this boring mill, I'm pretty sure I saw a date on it somewhere. December 31st, 1923. Fairly certain I saw it somewhere on the tailstock. I'll have to investigate that a little bit more. Which means that this machine has been around for a little bit. So it's got some wear. It's not perfect. It was only $800. And I'll be honest, I would pay $800 for just this chuck. It's it looks like it's insanely complicated, but it's really not that bad. This here will move the head up and down. This here will move your saddle in and out. You got another one of those over here to move the table back and forth. You also have these two way back there. They're attached to these 2 screws. I don't know why you don't have a center, where you don't have a sort of attachment for the lead screw over here, because you have one for the other 2, but you don't have one for that screw. You have another one over here to move the tailstock back and forth. You have a dozen oil cups. You got one. I'm going to guess there's another one on this bearing somewhere. It's go with 2. There's probably 3. There's an oiler down there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. These here are also oiling points. It's 15, 16, 17, 18. There's another oil port on this guy here somewhere. So let's go with 9. I forget what I'm at. About 20 of them. It's about 20. There's also these 2. So there are a lot of oiling points on this particular machine. I've been needing one of these machines for a very long time. Those of you that know me and have seen a lot of my videos know that I could have used this machine several times, even recently. Doing the power hammer anvil, which is down there, I really could have used a boring mill for that. It would have been a much better machine. It has a new 5 horsepower motor with only a couple of hours on it. And yes, this big machine is only 5 horsepower, which isn't really a problem for me. And I think the only other thing to discuss is this chuck that was on here. This chuck is extremely interesting. And I say that not because, you know, it just came with the machine and it was on the spindle, which means that if I were to bring this up, I have like a 60 or an 80-inch swing lathe, which is very nice to have. This chuck is a combination chuck, meaning that this top cap will move independently of the scroll. So if I clamp on something, I can indicate it in, like a 4-jaw. However, I can operate all of the jaws independently, like a 3-jaw. This chuck, I'm going to make a backing plate for it, and I'm going to put it on the Reed Prentice lathe, or if in the near future I get another smaller swing lathe, because this 10-inch chuck, it looks sizable, but it's very small compared to the Reed Prentice lathe. It's very, very small for the Reed Prentice lathe. But that combination chuck feature is extremely nice. I've been wanting to buy a 4-jaw combination chuck for quite a while. They're very useful for doing weird setups. You can turn your jaws around and hold odd shapes, and if you have lots of odd shapes to hold, you can adjust these. Now there is a limited range. It's not like a 4-jaw chuck where you can, you know, back one of them out all the way and back with the other one in all the way. They don't have a massive range, but they are insanely nice to have. This one was made by the Union, let's see here, Union Manufacturing Company at New York, I think. No, New Brunswick. It's a 10-inch chuck. Very nice to have. I would have paid $800 for that chuck, to be honest, let alone an entire horizontal boring mill. So I think that's all there is to say about this machine. It's going to have to stay up here for a while. I'll probably come up with some wire wheels on air die grinders and start cleaning it up and oiling it. I don't want this rust that's on it to get too bad, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it. It's a big heavy machine, weighs about 12,000 pounds. The catalog said it only weighed 9, but we put a scale on it, and the scale, it was a 5,000 kilogram scale, and the scale aired out. So it's a fairly heavy machine. Now that we've kind of concluded everything on the boring mill, I wanted to show you guys the shop. I completely rearranged the layout. I need to come through and do a major cleanup. I'm sort of in the middle of that. I had a lot of steel plates to drill out. I think it was 215 plus another 80 or 90 of these bigger ones. So right around 300 steel plates to drill. Hardened steel, very tough to drill through. So I got a bunch of spade drills. Ended up using a regular high-speed steel twist drill because the spades I got didn't work out. so I'll have to find a new coating for those. But lots and lots of chips made on the new drill. It works really nice. I'm very, very glad I bought that machine. It almost immediately paid for itself. And here is the new layout of the shop. As some of you may or may not remember, that surface grinder used to be flipped around, and it used to be right here. This rack used to be sort of parallel with those steel bars. This was behind my K&T mill. I still need to go through and clean up. Of course, cleaning is a never-ending job. The little Chinese lathe is now here. As much as I hate this machine, and I do hate this machine, it's a very, for what I do, it's a very bad machine. But it's not mine, it's my dad's. So I'm going to make some upgrades to it, make it a little bit nicer to use. It's now here instead of behind the stock rack, so it's easier to get to. And it'll be a more valuable piece of equipment here in the shop. And my desk is now over here. So now there's no dead space in the shop that is unused or unusable. Surface grinder is here, got of course projects and crap stacked on it. Hacksaw is now here. It makes it easier to get in long stock. Stock rack is right next to the hacksaw. So that has been the new Lucas horizontal boring mill. This machine is going to be very nice to have once I have it set up in the new shop. It is definitely an investment. I'll have to put a DRO on it eventually and clean it up. For those of you wondering why I bought another project machine after I got rid of the big HCP radial arm drill, well, this machine is fully functional. Everything on it works, everything on it moves. I will be going through and oiling it all so that it doesn't further rust, and I will try to remove some of the rust that has already accumulated. But there's really nothing wrong with this machine. It's a little wore, but you know, I haven't really seen many of these pop up in my area, which is why I had to spend 12 hours on the road to find one. I'm very, very grateful to Yuchol Kim and the gentleman who sold it to me. Super happy to have it. Yuchol is happy that I have it, because he says that I'll get my fair use out of it, and it'll be a definite asset here in the shop. So, with all that being said, please like and subscribe, and have a good day.